EastEnders confirms the real reason for Vicki and Ross's debts as Sharon reels, retuning to Walford ahead of her uncle Martin Fowler's funeral earlier this week. It soon became clear that to viewers of the BBC One soap that she wasn't just there to support her family. Firstly, half-sister Sharon Watts had questions about the whereabouts of her long-term partner Spencer Moon when they reunited. With a new man on her arm, Ross Marshall, and his son Joel in tow, it became clear that Vicki's life had drastically changed in the last few years. She explained that Spencer had been unfaithful to her, but after his brother Alfie reached out, it was confirmed that the shoe was on the other foot. Ross was his best mate, but had been sleeping with Vicki. Fueled with anger, Sharon asked her sister not to tell any more lies. But this was just the beginning. Once alone, Vicki and Ross discussed having somewhat of a financial predicament, with him asking her to find a cash source, and quick. After attempting to ask Sharon for the money, Vicki was left guilt-ridden and had to come up with an alternative solution. Luckily for her, wealthy cousin Ian Beale was on hand, and he agreed to consider coughing up the money. What she wasn't prepared for was Sharon finding out, who was offended that her sister had turned to someone else rather than ask her directly. Vicki managed to wriggle her way out of the awkward situation, but it wasn't long before her mum Michelle contacted Sharon and told her the shocking truth. They weren't Vicki's debts, they were Ross's. In tonight's episode, Sharon asserted that she was sick of being lied to, comparing Vicki to their devious father Dirty Den, and wanted to know the ins and outs of the dilemma before she helped them. Explaining that Ross's ex-wife had put him through a bitter divorce settlement, he had to turn to the wrong people to borrow from. These dodgy folk are now demanding he pays up. Tensions began to rise as Sharon attempted to slap Vicki. Later, the gravity of the situation sunk in, and Sharon agreed to support them both. She'll provide $50,000 and accept it returned in instalments. There was one condition, though. If Ross was to upset Vicki, she'd come at his, downstairs with a knife. Honestly, we think she meant it. However, there were bigger shocks to come, as Ross sat down with teenage son Joel for a chat in the square gardens. He was innocently playing a game of footy with Tommy Moon, but had been called over by his dad to ensure he didn't spill a disturbing secret. The debts aren't a fault of Ross's financial mismanagement, but rather it's because of Joel that he's in these troubles. Sharon watched on from afar, clearly suspicious. But what has Joel done, and when will the total truth out?
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của EastEnders Spoiler TV. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.